A warm welcome to our concert today from this beautiful art gallery, Leicester International Music Festival lunchtime series in association with the Countess of Munster Musical Trust and their excellent concert scheme. The Munster Trust give money for young musicians who need help with studying fees, instruments sometimes, and other reasons, and they choose from that already exclusive group young musicians to go on to a concert scheme which they support, and we're very happy to have been working with them in this series. Today we've got two young artists, and it's my own instrument, which is such a joy to hear, Hannah Condliffe and Dominic Doutney, isn't it? Yes, and it's great to welcome you here. I'd love to say you're very, very welcome. You've got a gorgeous programme. Let's just talk about, first of all, the first two pieces. So you've got a Clara Schumann romance. If it's violin music, why are you playing it on the oboe?
The Clara Schumann romances and the Robert Schumann romances have formed quite a fundamental part of the oboe repertoire. I think even though it's written for violin, it fits really nicely on oboe. We have to take a few more breaks, naturally, because we've got to breathe. But I actually kind of prefer the Clara Schumann romances to the Robert Schumann. I just think they really flow, they're really flexible. Yeah. I just think they're really beautiful. They both are.
I mean, I think that the Robert Schumann romances are quite an extreme music.
Yeah.
And I think I found when I was young, it took me a long time and a lot of performances to really start to understand them. And I played them once with Bengt Forsberg, the Swedish pianist, and he was so extreme with it, and I suddenly realised it's actually a kind of madness in that piece, and the Clara pieces are so effortlessly flowing, aren't they?
Yeah, they're really florid.
You play all three, do you? Sometimes?
Well, I have practiced all three, but just chose one.
Yeah. No, it was lovely.
Yeah.
It's lovely to do that one. And of course the piano writing, of course, from Clara we know is gorgeous, isn't it? So.
And it can be quite complex sometimes because she was such an excellent pianist.
Clearly.
But it generally fits pretty well under the hand. So I think it's a wonderful piece.
And then the second work you're playing is an arrangement of a spiritual by Samuel Coleridge Taylor, I think it's just so brilliant that we're hearing more about Coleridge Taylor at the moment. I mean, it must have been it's a strange history in a way, because he was so famous for Hiawatha, and then just absolute obscurity for obvious reasons, appalling reasons really, and unnecessary. And then all of a sudden people are just saying, well, listen to the violin concerto, listen to, the nonette. Have you played the nonette yet?
No.
Oh, it's just a stunning piece, great piano part. So tell us about that spiritual and also the connection with Michael Tippett in it.
Yeah, so obviously Tippett did the Negro spirituals, and I used to sing them at school actually. So these pieces mean a lot to me, and I just think they're beautiful. And Deep River, I think, is one of the most commonly played or sung spirituals. I think it's so important, as you said, to be playing works such as Coleridge Taylor, because he was at the time trying to bring African music into the classical scene when it just wasn't a given, it just wasn't accepted. So I think it's such a beautiful piece of music.
It's a lush piano part.
It's wonderfully written. And actually Coleridge Taylor's an important figure at my university, Royal College of Music, so it's great to be able to also play some of his music.
The reason, apparently, I heard that the reason he started to compose was because Stanford, who was his principal at the Royal College, said that all of the musicians, all of the instrumentalists, should have composition lessons, and that's when he wrote the nonette, which he wrote when he was 18 or 19 years old.
Oh my gosh.
So it's for strings and wind, no flute, and a big piano part. Now, his piano writing is as if he was a pianist, not a violinist. It's extraordinary. I think he's such a wonderful figure. I'm just sorry that we didn't make more of him a bit earlier. Then you're playing the Poulenc Sonata, which is of course one of the most, I think it's one of the best and one of the most important pieces in our repertoire. What's your take on that piece?
Oh, I think it's brilliant. There's so many characters throughout the whole piece, throughout the three movements, and I think the third movement is particularly poignant, obviously in memory of Prokofiev, and I just think it's just so powerful, like using the full range of the oboe, and just you don't usually come across going from such a high range down to a bottom B flat, and it just feels so powerful to play. And then obviously the second movement's super fun. It's quite
super bitchy.
Yeah.
Gossiping.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? And the first movement's beautiful, but for me the third movement is the real. It's really impactful.
It's an interesting structure because the other wind sonatas from the same period, the flute clarinet sonatas, always have a fast last movement. Yeah. But like you mentioned, you don't have to do that terrifying last movement in that place. So you've got two slow movements which frame a fast movement, and then a slow section in the middle of that fast movement too, in which he quotes Prokofiev's flute sonata, the violin sonata. So in a way, it's got quite a lot of slow music.
Yeah,
it's just interesting. I mean, I think apart from one song in the English language, it's the last piece he wrote, and I think he only heard it once. So it has that. I mean, so the history of it is that it's elegiac, but he didn't know he was about to have a massive heart attack.
No.
But then somehow that's very poignant when we play it, isn't it? Don't you think? The piano writing is just wonderful. I mean, it's like great waves of the sea at certain points. It's rather wonderful that we've got some rather lovely sea images behind you here. We can be inspired watching them. And your last piece is by a composer who's better known as a conductor, Antal Dorati, who actually was the principal conductor in the BBC Symphony Orchestra for quite a long time when Janet Craxton, my teacher, was principal oboe. I don't think he was terribly nice to her, actually. But then you could get away with that in those days. But I think it's a fabulous piece, and it's a real show-off piece for both instruments, isn't it? But it's very well written at the same time. How do you find it?
Yeah, it's not like your classic showpiece, is it? Like, it's not your classic technical piece to put at the end, which is I think why we enjoyed programming it, because it's been quite hard to get. It's not easy to put together. No. There's so many lines going on at the same time, and it's really quite hard rhythmically because we both have semiquavers and they just constantly interject each other. So it's been like a challenge, but in a good way to put together.
It's a real concentration game, particularly in the second movement. If something goes out of place, the whole thing could come crashing down. Yeah.
Well, it's very impressive to do it without a page turner as well. I think. I mean, that's amazing.
That's the hardest thing about it.
Maybe an iPad one day if you could face it.
I think I need to invest
if this continues, this horrible situation. But well, I think you're just a wonderful duo, the two of you, and thank you so much for coming. And
thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure.
And good luck for the next stage in your careers. I mean, it's going to be fabulous, I'm sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.